Right.
But in the beginning, he was there, and I saw that statistic, and that was one of the reasons why I was like, oh, it's time for you to come on and live with me. You
Right.
can't be one of those statistics.
Right.
All right, we're going to get to a couple of speed round questions. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
What do you think is the most challenging issue facing Maple Heights, and how you want to address them?
Poverty. About a 23% poverty rate.
Hmm.
Out of that poverty rate becomes so many subsets of problems that plague cities, right? Lack of, we have a lot of food banks, but nutritious food that keeps them healthy, food that makes them feel good, and good nourishment, which nourishes the brain and the soul. Also, insecure housing, they move a lot. So there's a huge transient population. Rent on the east side for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath is about $900 to $1,000. You come to the west side, which is more of affluent as we back up towards Valley View, Bedford, and Garfield Heights, it's going to cost you $1,100. If the median income is less than $50,000, more than half of your income is going towards rent, which is why these moms have to work 2 and 3 jobs.
This is Strategic Moves with Kenn Dowell.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You tuned in to another episode of Strategic Moves. I'm your host, Kenn Dowell. This is a place where we bring art, culture, politics, and business all together, and we do it every week right here on this channel. But when I'm not shooting this podcast, I am the owner of Strategic Resources Consulting, where we specialize in political campaigns, government, and public relations work. We've been doing it for over 25 years right here in this state, and I want to make your next move a strategic move. So this program gives me an opportunity to do just that. I bring on people who I've met over the years. We come in, we sit down, we talk about our experiences, and maybe, just maybe, something you'll get out of it that'll help you in your business or your personal life. If this sounds like something that you be interested in, all I need you to do is hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell as well, so that you'll know next time this program's on. We're going to get started today because we got a good friend of mine coming right into the program today. And she is a mayor right here in the city of, not in this city, in the county of Cuyahoga County. She has her own city that she's the mayor of. And we're going to talk a little bit about what she does for a living and what she's doing to help progress her city along. Also, before I get started, I want to give a shout out to the best podcast producer in the business. And that's none other than DJ True. What's happening, fellas?
What's going on, Ken?
Everything's
How's it going? You ready?
Every day's a holiday, man. We're trying to get it in. I'm ready, man. It's a good day. It's early. We're shooting a podcast earlier today. We usually shoot in the evening, but we made an exception today for a friend of mine. So we're going to get to it. You got anything you want to add before we get started?
Yeah, since we got a big time mayor coming into the show, I definitely want to know, what are these cities doing about these kids going around trying to get in people's cars? Because I just had a bad experience with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So let's see what's going on with the youth out here, because it's been a lot, not in just any particular city, but just in general, yeah. From parking garages to people coming in people's driveways, seeing if your car is unlocked, and a lot of people, which was so crazy, in this particular incident, this person left pretty much all his identity, from bank cards to IDs to everything in his car, but it was in a secret compartment. But so they didn't find it. So a lot of people leave a lot of stuff in their cars, from ID to money to weapons. So if you have all that in your car, I just would suggest lock your car.
I suggest you don't leave all that stuff in your car. First of all, you're not supposed to leave any weapon in your car at any time. Your weapon, the reason why you have it is supposed to be on you. And if you don't have it on you, you're not supposed to have it. So leaving it in your car, which is one of the largest reasons why most of these kids are getting weapons now, or they are breaking into cars. And when they get in there, they get in the jackpot. Like you say, they get in there, you're getting your IDs, you're getting your wallets, you're getting your computer stuff, you're getting their weapons. So I think the very first thing, and I answered that for her, but I imagine that's what she would say, is why would you leave all of that stuff in your car? I saw a guy, and we're going to get right to it. I saw a guy the other day. Me and Yvonne went down to the flats to get something to eat. And I saw a guy pull up in one of those Jeeps that had the tops off and all 4 doors off on his Jeep. He pulled up, got out his car, parked that thing just as big as day, and walked down the street. And I said, you know what? Obviously, he ain't got nothing in that Jeep.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously.
Usually anybody that's driving a convertible or driving, a Jeep or anything where you could lift the top off. They're not leaving anything in that. And
so everybody should be the same
leave
way.
Something in it, they got secret compartments. They locking their stuff up because anything in plain sight is vulnerable.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. So let's get started. Today, we have none other than she is the mayor of the city of Maple Heights. She is the first African-American woman also to become mayor of such a city out there. And she's been doing a great job out there. She's one of the people I believe have a bright future here in our county. And we're going to probably hear a lot more from her in the future. So without further ado, everybody, let's give a warm welcome to none other than Mayor Annette Blackwell to our program. Mayor, how you doing today?
I'm good, and thank you for having me.
You're welcome to come on our program. We'd like to have you.
It's always an honor, though, to be invited.
You got a lot going on in your city. You've been doing a lot in our community for a while, so it's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for that.
So I want you to give everybody, because what we do in our programs, we always give everybody a little opportunity to give us some background. So most of you politicians, y'all got y'all spiel in y'all back pocket. Mayor, give us your 2 minutes. Who is Mayor Blackwell?
I've never been asked to give a 2-minute spill because I just speak from whatever the topic is or whatever the question. I try to be very direct. But now that you've asked me to pare it down in 2 minutes, I would say I am a business professional who chose to see what I could do to serve my city, to make a difference, to give people a return on their investment and improve the quality of life.
No, I want a 2 minute of your background.
Oh,
where
my
you
background,
came from.
where
I know you came.
from.
You're not from here. You're from Alabama.
I'm from Alabama.
Yeah, you're from Alabama. I want to know mom, dad, brother, sister. Give me the
personal
I want the 2 minute
Okay.
spiel of
Well,
the background.
I am here as a child of the second migration. I came to Ohio, the North, as they're still calling it, as if there's two different countries. South and North, but it's one united country. But I am from a place called Orville, Alabama, which is a suburb of Selma, Alabama. Everybody knows Selma because of the movie. And it is the birth of a great deal of pride and civil rights and fighting for equality and justice, an area of a great deal of oppression and poverty. But I came here as a 2-year-old as my dad moved from Alabama, leaving us behind to find a better life in Ohio. And like our immigrants, he had a friend here. So it's like a sponsorship. We don't call it that way. Where is someone in the North that can take care of me and help me show the ropes? So his best friend from high school had moved to Cleveland and he came to get a job. And then after he got an apartment and a job, he came back to get my sister and I. So I came here as a 2-year-old and been here ever since.
Wow. Okay.
My mother, after my parents' divorce, right out of high school in 1981, she moved back to the South and she lives in Mobile, Alabama, which is about 2 hours south of Selma, right on the border of the Gulf of Mexico. That's Gulf Shores right there, Orange Beach, 2 hours from New Orleans, and about an hour from Pensacola. That's where Mobile is.
So you and your sister?
Yes, I have one sister. She lives in Warrensville Heights.
She lives in Warrensville. So you guys stayed?
Yes, we stayed.
And so what high school and stuff you went to?
I went to Villa Angela Academy, which is now Villa Angela St. Joe's.
Oh, so you went to VA?
I went to VA.
Oh, okay. That's excellent. Then what'd you do after high school?
I got married.
After high school?
I got married as a 20-year-old.
Really?
Yes.
So where you met your husband at?
My husband worked for a company called Mirror.
Okay.
So my girlfriend was modeling for Mirror.
Oh, you know when you said it flashed me back because I said, but then I really remember who Mirror was.
Yes.
They was very popular.
They were known for the Jerry curl,
right?
The 2-in-1 curl. My late father-in-law, who has passed, owned about 6 salons.
Okay.
Under Mirror, and they were jumping, and so I learned how to neutralize and blow dry the first 2 weeks of the month because people were lined up for the $39.95 curl.
Right.
They were competing with another provider, not in East Cleveland, that was charging $125 for curls.
Wow.
And so there was a initiative to make curls affordable for everybody. Now, I have never had a Jerry curl.
Really? All that you put
I
in.
could have got the product free.
Right.
I have never had a curl, but very successful business. But my girlfriend was modeling, and we were sharing a car. My girlfriend from high school was still best friends, and I would go pick her up, practice modeling, and the man that became my husband was just picking at me because he didn't know me. Nobody knew who's this girl. She's not a model, so they always look for who's new, right? Okay. and 5 years older than me, and just was very impressive, right? The family had some things going on, and so it took about 3 or 4 months. I thought, okay, maybe I should give him a shot. My boyfriend at the time was in the Navy.
Okay.
So I was unattached.
Okay.
But every time I said no, he made more grander gestures, and I finally
made it difficult.
He made it difficult to keep saying no. So I married him.
Excellent.
I married him like a year later.
Excellent. How long y'all been married?
He died. He's my ex-husband.
That's what, and in my mind, I didn't want to say that, but in my mind, I was thinking, I remember hearing you tell this story before, and that's what I was thinking. So what happened?
He got lung cancer. After our divorce, he moved. He's from Pittsburgh. Okay. After our divorce, he moved back to Pittsburgh to take care of his mom.
Okay. So y'all were married for a little while, then you divorced.
Married 14 years.
Really?
2 beautiful sons. Okay. 2 sons out of that marriage. We moved back to Pittsburgh to take care of his mom, who had gotten lung cancer spread to her breast.
Wow.
And then years later, he ended up having a spot on his brain, which said was non-malignant, but maybe in 2 years, it had spread all over his body, and he died. Wow. So I buried him. Helped bury him with my sons, our children, about 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many children you have?
3.
You have 3, 2 boys and a girl.
2 boys and a girl.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Nice. And so you got, we're going to get to the new marriage. So after that, what did you do?
I got a question.
What did I do? Okay.
What you got?
Before you move on, what happened to the boyfriend in the Navy?
He cheated on me with somebody from Guam.
Oh, wow.
And as I picked him up from the airport, he was taking a shower, and I thought I'd be a great girlfriend and unpack his bags. No, there weren't some phones back then. I unpacked his bags while he was in the shower to get things situated. I'm just those organized, neat person. And in the bag were pictures of him and his girlfriend in Guam lying on a car that he had bought. And I go, we survived that. The trust had been broken. I had been very loyal girlfriend, writing letters and taking phone calls at 3:00 on Sunday when he called. And I thought, I don't know if this is the best move. So I had another boyfriend, but that didn't quite work out. But this guy was older, successful, and he just brought out the whole show. Right. I worked at the Limited part-time at Severance, and I worked at Ameritrust, which is now Metropolitan 9. Okay. And so I had saved all these checks from the Limited because I lived at home. So I just would throw those checks in the drawer and lived out of my Ameritrust check. I was a safe deposit clerk. And my mom had promised I could use the car to go shopping. I was like, all the girls wouldn't go shopping because they said I had to cash these checks before they became void, right? Because after 45 days, like they're no good. And then my mother decided she wasn't gonna let me use the card. And he kept calling me. And I said, what do you want? This is the mirror guy. And he says, I just want to take you out. And I said, I'm trying to do something with my friends. And I'm just really not in the mood. I'm trying to go shopping. And my mother won't let me use the car. He said, that can be solved. He went to the airport and rented me a brand new car. Gave me his American Express card and said, you can cash your check, but you put everything in the American Express card. I'll pick up the car on Sunday.
Wow. But that's impressive.
I was like, okay. That was it.
That mirror money was big back then.
It was big.
If you don't know, you just don't know how big that mirror money was back in the day. And that was all like community.
And I'm 18 years old. Somebody's giving me a brand new car and an American Express. What black guy has an American Express car, right?
Exactly. No, that was huge.
So didn't call me and say, where's the car?
Wow.
He's called me about 9:00. He said, whatever you're doing, we got to get this car back to the airport by midnight. So wrap it up.
Wow.
I'm thinking, this is going to be easy. I can just get what I want like this. So
that was cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
That was great. So what did you do after? Did you go to college?
I did not go to college right away. No, because I was pregnant when I got married.
Oh.
I got pregnant. I was Catholic.
Okay.
And I went to St. Philip Neri, right at 82nd and St. Clair.
I know that.
During high school, I had worked in the rectory for Father Gallagher. Okay. I was a good Catholic girl. I went to Villa Angela. I went to Mass all the time. And you're supposed to get married when you get pregnant.
That's correct.
So I was pregnant.
Okay.
And so I don't know if I really wanted to get married, but he said, I want to get married. The gentleman that I ended up being with, Miriam, had been with a young lady for many years who didn't want children. She was very career-oriented. He didn't want children. So the idea of me getting pregnant was perfect. I was 19 and he was 24. Let's have a baby. His brothers had babies. His father at the time wanted the more in the Swoop family and more workers you have.
Correct.
Let her have a baby.
That's right. We can
and
roll
she's
more
like, she's not a model. Nobody knows her. She's a perfect wife. She
Right.
goes to mass.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have this baby. I have to get married. So we got to go to Father Gallagher and admit that I'm married, and you go through the classes and agree to have raise the baby Catholic and have a Catholic wedding. So I had a big Catholic wedding at 82nd in St. Clair at St. Philip Neri. Married a non-Catholic.
I grew up in that neighborhood over there.
Ansel Road, St. Vitus, and all of that.
I spent a lot of time up in St. Philip Neri.
So I was a mom and got a job at Ameritrust.
Okay.
And was a safe deposit clerk and stayed at the bank for about 8 years in banking. And I worked at the family business, the salons, on first, second Saturdays when people have their check. But we got a bunch of people and I worked in the store selling product.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
Wow. So what made the transition into getting into, I know you got into accounting, which is your big thing.
Yes.
So how did you make that transition into that?
Opportunity just finds me. And I call it favor. I call it God ordering my steps. And that's just my faith and just what I was grounded in. My dad was a minister. He was a minister. He worked at Ford, Walton Hills, but he also preached. Most people from Selma, Alabama preach because you have about 4 or 5 uncles that preach and go to church all day. There's a morning bench. And I just grew up in a very religious environment.
Okay.
Church is everything. And so when I became Catholic, it was just my way of rebelling.
Really?
I went to Catholic school. I didn't want to be in church all day. I saw, because you go at 8 o'clock, so you get home at 6 o'clock. All day. You go to everybody's revival, everybody's
church 3-4 days a week.
Yes. Right. When you finish this revival, there's one across the bay, there's one over in Five Point, there's one over in this part of Alabama. You just go to church all the time. It's just churched out. And then you get behind and you see the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, this can't be true. I got an uncle that's got a wife and 2 other women in the church, and you got to make them chicken. And you know, when the pastor comes, you got to roll out the red carpet. These imperfect people, right? I can't do this. So I'm going to find a perfect religion. So I thought. So I grew up in the Glenville area on Thornhill Drive.
You grew up in our neighborhood.
Yeah, 735 Thornhill Drive.
Know, she's from Glenville.
I'm from Glenville.
You know what's supposed to happen when we get folks in here from Glenville? You know, he's trying to figure that out.
Yeah, so I grew up between grade. I'm not a tar-bloodder by graduation. And the reason we didn't go to public school, I went to Captain Arthur Roth for elementary school, but my sister got jumped every day by the Watkins sisters. There's 5 Watkins sisters. My sister's light skinned, and even at 10 years old, she has one of them boom boom bodies. And when you're cute and they don't like you. So what do? They beat you up. I was tall and skinny and didn't have all that going on, but she did. And so they said they're going to beat her up.
Wow.
And so the rule was, if one sister fights, everybody fight. And I'm the oldest. I was a good girl, captain of the guards, teacher's pet. And here she's out fighting. It's like, yeah, come get your sister, the Watkins sisters. Our hair was over here, but we'd go back to back. And we would fight 5 girls, and we didn't go down.
Wow. Okay.
We didn't go down.
Okay. All right.
So I learned how to fight. But my mother at the time worked at Society, which is now Key Tower. She worked there, and 3 o'clock the phone rings to make sure you're in. Latchkey kids, you in the house and you're safe. And we out of breath because we didn't fought the Watkins sisters. We fight them and then we run home, close the door. And she said, I can't take it anymore. For me, when I got to 7th grade, she said, I'm going to send you to Patrick Henry, because Patrick Henry is right down, really on the same side of the street. I live on that side of the street. I can't go through it. And my sister's 6th grade. I'm going to find somewhere. I'm putting you guys in Catholic school. So we went, not because we weren't getting good education, just trying to get rid of from the Watkins sisters.
Right, exactly.
We were going to be their target. It was almost every day. Wow. And there was a young guy that just harassed me all the time. He would cut my socks. He'd pull my hair. It was just drama. I can't take it. Because I was old, I got to pick the school. And I said, I don't know. So I was supposed to go to St. Aloysius, because St. Aloysius was the closest.
Correct.
I don't know. I just didn't choose St. Aloysius. We were riding down the street and I saw St. Philip Neri, and I'm moved by experience. There was just something about St. Philip Neri being so close to the lake and the park right there. And I said, I want to go to that school. She said, what do you know? I said, I just think I want to go there. Went for the orientation, fell in love with it. And it took 6th graders because it's K through 8. And so my sister could go there 6th grade, so I can take care of her, right? And I went to 7th grade. So we ended up going to Catholic school.
St. Philip Neri, they've been right there off of Lakeshore.
No, 82nd and St. Clair.
Not Philip, Villa Angela.
Villa Angela, yes.
Villa Angela, the high school was down there. They changed it though, didn't they?
It's a library now, and Villa Angela merged with St. Joe's. Now it's Villa Angela St. Joe's because Catholics have lost school enrollment, so it's co-ed now. When I went, it was all girls. It's co-ed now.
So how did you get into accounting?
So I got the job at the bank, and Meritrust was sold. We had moved from Key Tower out to Tiedemann, the operations center right behind Cracker Barrel. Because the rent had become so much per square foot. And they're just like the kind of doing justice center. They look at that prime real estate. What else can we do? What's the appraisal term? What's the highest and best use? A bank or more? They needed more hotels, more convention space. That was always as they were re-envisioning downtown 25 years ago, right? So they moved operations out to Tiedemann and sold it. And so for a while it was Wells Fargo, and then they brought part of it to Society, which became Key Bank, and then there was Start Bank, and then there was U.S. Bank now. All of these reiterations. So I was working for three vice presidents: the vice presidents of installment lending, which is student loan lending, indirect lending, which means you can go to Ganley and get your car loan, but it's really Ameritrust funding it, and then installment lending, you want to borrow $25,000. So I worked for three VPs who were all let go. They were all let go when it was purchased. And so the new VPs they brought in from San Francisco loved me. It was a high profile job. I am Dr. Nakamoto's assistant, right? I just do huge events for him. He lived in Hunting Valley. So I did a big employee picnic. I worked with all the vendors. I just had it great. It's a huge bonus. He would take care of me. And I'm like, I'm not leaving Dr. Nakamoto. She said, the world's bigger. Do you know what, Deloitte, before you turn it down? I said, I'm not interested. She said, do me a favor. Just go on the interview. I just went through this. Remember with leaving the bank. I said, here's another, just go on the interview. I go on the interview. I walk into Deloitte Key Tower. It is big business. Everybody has on white shirts, the professional casual. Everybody's white. They all got laptops. They've got a view of Public Square. It's super quiet. It doesn't have the excitement of the hospital. I'm like, I don't want to work here. And so 2 days later, I got the job. I turned the job down. I don't want this job. But her husband was partner, which means owner. And he said, you just hire her. I just went through the process. And the HR director said, how did you get here? Because you don't get to Deloitte unless you are from a certain zip code. She kept trying to figure it out, not knowing that the nurse's husband was a partner, had said, you interview her. So unwillingly, she makes me this offer, but it was exactly what I was making. I had to sit in a cube. I had my own office. I did what I want. Why would I sit in a cube in this sterile white person? I had 4 weeks vacation. Something happened with the kids. I could do it. I was high profile. I don't want to do that. And I said no. And then they called me back and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I'm like, you didn't give me all of that? So I went to the doctor because we were very good friends. And I said, because I was originally had gotten an offer from a pharmaceutical company. He says, don't do that. And that pharmaceuticals are going to go out the way. This was Dr. Nakamoto, was my mentor and friend. So when I told him I got the job at Deloitte, he said, I have to let you go. I go, let me go. He said, I cannot be selfish. That is one of the top accounting firms in the world. I do not want you to leave. You have to go. You have to go. You must take this job. Do your research. Just train someone. You have to go. So he encouraged me to go. And I went to Deloitte. I went in as an assistant. But a year later, I met a gentleman that came over from E&Y we did personal property returns. That means tables and chairs, real properties, buildings, and that kind of thing. I'd become a trainer. I worked on clients. I worked on right now what's happening around the tax complaints. Company thought they were paying too much taxes. I would help with the consultant and the manager working on the finances to figure out, is there really a savings here? Are they being over assessed? Is the property, are they taking the depreciation? Are they taking into the obsolescence because the building no longer is handicap accessible? I did that kind of work. And so with India being on a different time frame, while we're asleep, they're processing the bills. And so I left as a senior property tax analyst in the India liaison. And I hosted 2 of my India employees here in the States. They came here and I just teaching them the American way, how working with their English and hosting them here in the States. So
let me ask you, how do you think your experience in the private sector prepare you for being the mayor?
But people don't understand it's a business. And Maple is almost a $45 million business. And so you need to understand the business process, right? When something comes into the city, whether it's an opportunity, hiring employees, what is it going to cost benefit analysis? What's this going to cost me? Can I afford it? What's it going to yield me? Is it a different skill set that we don't have that helps me have better time management in the service department that I can send out to handle the issue of engaging our residents more? Do they have a public relations marketing? Do they know how to help me sell? Because it's selling too, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I did at Deloitte was I sold.
Mm-hmm.
I would go out on what they call an engagement team. It'd be myself. It would be maybe this senior manager. I manage the software, and I'm showing them how we can save them money. We take over their tax bill processing, we monitor their value notices.
Mm-hmm.
That comes off of their desk, and they can sell more. Let us handle your real estate taxes, and let's see if there's an opportunity. If we think you're being overtaxed, let's minimize your tax liability.
Mm-hmm.
I was on a sales team, and you get rewarded. There's a bonus, right? Every time you win. So what I do in Maple Heights, I sell Maple Heights. There's 59 communities. I'm always competing with 58. I sell it every single time. And I sell that with efficiency, the right talent pool, understanding being able to articulate what the return on their investment is if they choose Maple Heights versus another city. I sell them on me, their confidence in me, and what I think I can bring. I'm very comfortable in a conference room when nobody looks like me, because for 6 years I was the only Black female mayor in the county. There was no other. Now we have two, because the other one didn't run her way. So it's two of us now. I'm comfortable at a C-suite level. I've only worked with executives. And so those are the decision makers. So I've been in conference rooms with blue suits and red ties.
Right.
I don't lose my voice. My knees don't shake. I can look you in the eye. I can sell it.
So let me ask you a question.
I can assimilate, right? I can fit in. I know how to get it done.
What would you consider being, I'm going to ask you a question with 3 questions in it. First, tell us, when did you get elected as mayor?
Yes.
Then second, I wanted to know what you believe is your biggest accomplishment that you have since you became mayor. And then third, since you are a seller of the city, what is Maple Heights' biggest selling point?
Sure. I became mayor in 2016. I'm in my first year of my third term.
2016. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And what was the second question?
Second question was 2006, when you became mayor. And then you said, what's your biggest accomplishment you think since you became mayor?
I came into a city that was broken.
Okay.
I came into a city that had been written off. I came to a city that was people were saying, labeled the second, number 2. We'll leave it that. I'm not going to name the others. City that had almost 3 million delinquency in the general fund, which is the main fund. And the city had been taken over finances and fiscal management by the Auditor of State's office. We're in a designated fiscal emergency.
That's correct.
Doing a 5-year recovery plan. I did it in 4.
Wow, it's recovered.
I did it in 4. They didn't officially release me to 5 because they kept going over the books. They said, no way. David Yost was the auditor when I came in. Keith Faber was the auditor when I finished. I got out of fiscal emergency during COVID, and they said, there's no way. You may be out. With COVID, with revenue down, you could possibly go in. So we don't want to be premature in releasing you.
Wow.
I reached out to the congressman at the time, who was Congresswoman Fudge, my Senator Yost. Let me go. I have the documents. I am out. They just didn't find it. They found it unbelievable. Wow. It had to be. They kept going over my books, and finally, they officially released me. And then 6 months later, we got the Clean Audit Award, and Keith Faber came down personally to give me the reward and said, I can't believe you did it.
So what is that? For people who don't know what that is, tell everybody what that is.
It's when you go bankrupt. You're an ABC company, and you have tried everything you could. You have to lay off employees. You sell off your assets, and you say, I can't function anymore as a business. I have no assets. My liabilities exceed my assets. I have to lay off my employees. I can no longer function as a business. I'm bankrupt.
And you pulled Maple Heights out of that.
I did.
Excellent. That's huge.
I think so.
Excellent. Now tell us what you think is the biggest selling point. You say you're the head salesperson of the city. So what's the biggest selling point of Maple Heights?
It is our location. People don't believe that, but it's our location. You can get to 77 in a few minutes, 271. Few minutes, you stay on 77 long, you can hop on 90. Now we got 176. We have rail. Norfolk Southern runs through our city. We're close to Summit County, right down 8. We have a lot of businesses. The new business just moved in, is right on 8 from Summit County. It's our location. We sit close to several inner ring suburbs in the middle. We touch 4 different suburbs. North Randall being a big employment center, it's a bridge separates us, right? Bedford having a huge industrial a road. It goes from Warrensville Center Road to just center, to drop the Warrensville. We're close to the Bedford Auto Mile. We're close to Valley View, where I live across the street from Valley View, one of the last streets. Walton Hills, if you go past my stop sign, Walton Hills, where my dad worked at the Ford plant, which is now Norfolk Center and the Roxino and Racino and North Randall. We're close to so many employment centers. We have a Southgate Transit Center that has a bus that takes you to Solon, where there's more employment. We're in the middle to get people to so many employment centers. And we're less than 15 minutes from downtown. It's our location.
So what's the makeup of your city as it relates to African Americans and also age, if you don't mind?
We're about 25,000 according to the last census. Now the census will tell you there were 22,000, but it was only 65% reporting. So if we had 100% reporting, we're a little bit over 25,000. We're the second largest inner ring suburb among the first ring suburbs. Garfield Heights being 30, Maple being 25, Warrensville is about 13,000, North Randall is less than 1,500, Highland Hills is maybe 900, Bedford is about 12,000, Bedford Heights is not even 10,000.
Wow,
we're huge.
Okay,
it's about 6 square miles.
What's the percentage of African American?
Right now, about 72%.
About 72%, really?
About 72%.
Wow, that's a big number too. Because when you came there, you were nowhere close to that either.
Probably about 61.
It's grown. That's done grown.
But it's changing again.
Yeah.
When I look at who's in my building department, it's white people who've been priced out of, I should say, other races who've been priced out of the West Side because to live on Fulton or Duck Island is $400,000.
Wow.
We're so close to the West Side. Once you get on Transportation Boulevard, and you cross the bridge, you're on the West Side, or you're in Brooklyn Heights.
That's correct.
Since we're so close to the West Side, people are choosing Maple Heights.
So what's the average cost of a home in Maple Heights?
Right now, it's about $125,000.
About $125,000?
When I started in 2016, $37,000 was the median home price. And we just had the highest value appreciation with the Sexennial, East Cleveland and Maple. People say, why? Because we were the lowest. We had the lowest and the most significant value depreciation in 2008 with the housing foreclosure.
Let's talk about your efforts in addressing affordable housing and development for seniors and multi-generational housing.
Sure.
People. You guys working on a program to do that?
We just cut the ribbon in April to a $14 million senior housing development developed by Jennings on Thomas Street.
Really?
I reached out to Jennings. I was at a fundraiser with Jennings maybe 4 years ago. My director of senior services had me go, and I was sitting with the CEO and director, Allison Salapak, and they were bragging about the new center they were opening. I think it was in Brecksville. And I said, why don't you open one in Maple Heights? As I stuffed my mouth with some dessert. And she laughed because they're right on Granger Road in Garfield Heights. And 3 years later, she says, you know what? Find me some land. And so we cut the ribbon, $14 million senior housing development in Jennings. It's called Beacon Grove Court.
And so who moved? Give some background for the millions of people who might want to move in there. How did that go? What's going on over there? It's a senior building. And how old you have to be? That kind of thing.
Our median age is about 43. We're a young city.
I'm about to say, that ain't no senior. That makes me feel like 40.
Well, census, they report out like what's the educational attainment. Almost 95% have a high school diploma. Another about 20% have at least an associate's. Probably more than 10% has a bachelor's, and about 2% has an advanced degree, master's or better. Yeah, I study my statistics, so I know who my customer is, right? And who my resident is, and I can serve them. But the median age is about 45. It's a young
city.
It is.
And those are 2-3 bedrooms or 2 bedrooms?
So that was the median age. You're asking about the housing? The housing is a city of bungalows. These are post-war bungalows built in the 1950s.
Okay.
That is our majority housing stock. Since I've been there, I'm working hard to diversify. Everybody doesn't want a bungalow, right? 2 bedrooms downstairs, master suite upstairs, a kitchen you can barely turn around in, 1 bathroom. The last side, and it's 2 Maple Heights. It's the east side and the west side. East side is on the other side of Warrensville, closest to Norfolk Road. Primarily bungalows. That is the most blacks on that side. It's the most affordable part of Maple Heights.
No, I'm talking about your senior building.
Oh, the senior building.
Yeah, I'm trying. If you wanted to go into that program, how you get involved in the senior?
You have to actually fill the application out from Jennings. It's based on your income. It is a lottery. They have 1 bedroom and they have 2 bedrooms, a community room. It has parking spaces for 1 car. And it has medical staff at the facility, but you have to be ambulatory.
Right.
You can't. But all of the rooms are wheelchair accessible, of course. And
how old you have to be to get in there? That's
62.
That's why I was saying 45 to get in. That's what I was talking about.
You're talking about our medium.
Yeah.
62 to get into Beacon Grove.
Okay, Beacon Grove. You have to be 62 years old. And when you say a lottery, what's the lottery?
Like CMH's lottery. Yeah.
So you got to register and hope you get pulled.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I think there's 4 or 5 suites left.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Now, man, I know you do a lot, and in the past with infant mortality and that thing. Would you tell everybody what you're doing in your communities about infant mortality?
When I got to the office in January of 16, they told me I had a several problem. We didn't have any money. We were under fiscal emergency. We only had 5 people in the service department, 2 people in the building department, and I was down 15 police officers. It was a ghost town in that place. And then they said, and your other big issue, maybe a month later, I had someone from Case, first year Cleveland, come out and say, and you have one of the highest numbers of Black infant deaths. I said, anything else? Because you guys told me this. And so I asked her for the data. I began to go to the information sessions that and this is before birth and communities arose or pregnant with possibilities. It was first year Cleveland working with Case to understand the numbers, understand the root cause of Black infant mortality. And then I started working with neighborhood leadership. I just immersed myself in data. Data helps me understand how to strategize, how to move forward, what the resources are needed, what resources I have, what resources I don't, what resources I can leverage, what connections and introductions I need to make. I want to share with you that in 2022, we had 0 Black infant deaths.
Whoa.
0.
0.
0. And we had one of the highest numbers. Now, we've got new partners on the scene, right? University Hospitals make it a priority. We got birth and communities with Jasmine.
Yes.
What's Jasmine?
It's not long.
Jasmine Long.
It is long? Okay.
And we have Pregnant with Possibilities open up at Southgate. I was one of the mayors who was chosen to visit Gawine a couple years ago. And I challenged him to make sure there was money in the budget. I was one of the only Black mayors to go in infant mortality. And he said it's in there. And every year I will say the money is in the budget. They understand it as a crisis. We've shown the movie Toxic, which is clearly talks about how institutional racism is a big part of this Black infant mortality, the stress that our mothers are. They working. A third of the households in Maple Heights are headed by single female women who work 3 jobs.
You guys had a statistic also that you had the largest number of foster parenting in the county also.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, that was some years ago and I was doing another study and it was interesting. My son originally was living with his grandmother out of that. And that's when the statistic came up and I realized that, and he was out there with a lot of his friends, but a lot of them was living with their grandmothers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so that
statistic got past me.
Yeah, that was a statistic you guys had for a while. That it was the largest number of parents who wasn't taking care of kids, that another parent or another relative who lived in Maple Heights.
Kinship care.
Yeah, you guys had the largest number of kinship care. Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. We've got a lot of social ills in Maple Heights, and I just take them one by one and find the right resource, the right partnerships to address them.
And I thought that led to some of the issues that I think the city was going through when it was having that, because it went through that grandparents raising kids, and remember, and that was a result of the crack epidemic.
Right. Absolutely.
And parents started raising their kids or incarceration.
We raised my husband's nephew, my current husband, my husband's nephew, because his sister was in and out of jail. She just couldn't say it, which was because of
her addiction.
She stayed in jail.
And that kind of thing. And grannies and grandparents got older. Those kids ended up going to Maple Heights High School. They were all out of control. Yeah. And I knew that because my son was a part of that, man. And he went to school with a lot. I was active in his life. So when I'd be like, man, what's wrong with him? Right. What's going on with that one? And when he lived, here come his grandmother picking him up. And I'm like, and then he ultimately, I said, you're going to have to live with me. Right. But in the beginning, he was there, and I saw that statistic, and that was one of the reasons why I was like, oh, it's time for you to come on and live with me. You can't be one of those statistics. Right. All right, we're going to get to a couple of speed round questions. Okay, you ready? I'm ready. What do you think is the most challenging issue facing Maple Heights, and how you want to address them? Poverty. About a 23% poverty rate. Out of that poverty rate becomes so many subsets of problems that plague cities, right? Lack of, we have a lot of food banks, but nutritious food that keeps them healthy, food that makes them feel good, and good nourishment, which nourishes the brain and the soul. Also, insecure housing, they move a lot. So there's a huge transient population. Rent on the east side for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath is about $900 to $1,000. You come to the west side, which is more of affluent as we back up towards Valley View, Bedford, and Garfield Heights, it's going to cost you $1,100. If the median income is less than $50,000, more than half of your income is going towards rent, which is why these moms have to work 2 and 3 jobs. So they may work at the hospital. We found out most of them work at the hospital, nursing homes. Now they work at Amazon. So that job takes care of the rent, but they work at Giant Eagle at night, or the gas station, the lottery machine, or they'll work at the Racine or Rocks, whichever part of Northfield, for the extras, the shoes, the haircuts, the field trips. And these kids are left at home as moms trying to really make it, these 3 jobs. Out of that poverty comes the homes that are not the most well kept. So of course we're dealing with clean water and lead, which we're addressing. Lack of youth engagement, lack of parental support when they're trying to do homework and excel in school. So they're a little behind. Something I put a lot of money into address to teach them there's life beyond Maple Heights. There's a gentleman, I was at a school board meeting, who said he wanted to go to the zoo. The zoo is 2 exits away. Had never been to the zoo. They don't leave 44137. They don't understand all the opportunities available to them. So workforce development, jobs that get them to beyond a living wage, but a wage where they can excel and they can thrive. But it's all rooted in poverty. Black infant mortality is rooted in poverty, right? It's not so much the care, because I sit between 2 hospitals. You've got South Point on this end, you got Bedford here, I got Marymount, I've got a Hoosier around the corner. It's really the stress that they bring in. And so we're prone to high blood pressure and all of those things that exacerbate our health conditions, going back to my healthcare background. But it's all rooted in poverty, hopelessness, the mental state of mind. If I'm worried every month I have to pay the rent, I'm going to pay rent in 29 more days, that stress. And so it's rooted in poverty. Let's go with this one. How important is it for you to have a diverse team and to assure that diversity is a part of your administration? And when I say diversity, I'm not necessarily saying it has to be color, just diverse in experience and all the other necessary things it is to make things go better. So how important is that to you and your administration? It's extremely important. It's something I've achieved. I walked into an all-white administration. When they were calling me ma'am, I was walking in a hall and kept saying ma'am. I didn't know who they were talking to. Or they were talking to me. I didn't realize a white officer. I said, oh yeah, I am. I guess I am a ma'am. Or a boss. It still is, sometimes shakes me when I'm looking at, because I come from Alabama, right? My grandmother was saying yes ma'am to kids younger than her, and now they're saying ma'am, and all of this respect. But relatability is important. We know in education, kids do better when the educator looks like them and have similar lived experiences, a different level of empathy and different level of outreach when there's a connection, an innate respect. So I really am I'm really big on understanding the relatability. If I am working in Maple Heights and I have all these issues, but I have the luxury of going to another suburb where it's not so big of a deal, I just got to get through these 8 or 9 hours. What's the level of commitment beyond the work hours or the benefits of paychecks that job affords you? I want people that understand what hunger is like. And so when they're at my food pantry, I have a choice food pantry. I have a brick and mortar food pantry. It's a little grocery store right on Broadway. You're sharing that food and making research with dignity and understanding. There's a compassionate there, right? There's a willingness because you understand what that's like. You're able to have those conversations without judgment, but real compassion, real empathy, and relatability. So it's really important. There's a diversity in thought.
when you come from a place like me, like Glenville, I understand what good, safe housing is and what civic pride is. You still in pride, then maybe I won't drop the Gatorade bottle when I drink it, drink. Maybe I'll throw it away because it's my neighborhood.
Right.
And we're all in this together. And when we are all in this together because we look together, we look a little bit like one another, we have similar lived experience. I've seen there's a different level of commitment, there's a higher level of engagement, and we bring better practices to what the community is now, not what it used to be. Maple Heights is not what it used to be. So somebody who knows what it was like 30 years ago can't help me with the present day Maple Heights and the challenges that it brings today.
Let me ask you, here's a different one too. We didn't talk about him, but Mr. Blackwell, I would imagine. That's your new boo.
Yes. We've been married to we've been together 27 years.
Yeah, I've been together 27. We forgot to mention Mr. Blackwell. And on top of it, he is a school board member, correct?
He is the school board president.
He's the school board president.
He's the president.
So
I'm married to the president.
You're married to the president. So let's make sure we squeeze him on in here in the fact of, one, let's talk about how that partnership is working as it relates to what you're doing, and you both of your goals to try to help in building a better city, and on your side on that end of government, and on his side as it relates to education.
I started off, I taught a parent academy program for 4 years. The way I got into politics is because I was a property tax professional. The city was trying to build new schools and they wanted to get a levy passed. And I was very involved with my kids in school, and they said, "You think you could be the chairperson for the levy?" I'm like, "You understand this?" I said, "Okay." It was a successful levy. And so people got to know me. They knocked on the door, got the levy passed. And there was a parent academy skill building program, them working with parents to get engaged in their kids' school, how to read the electronic report card, the importance of coming to open house to meet your teacher, your partner in education, coming to parent-teacher conference to strategize of how to have your kid be successful. And so I taught that program for 4 years. And I had to quit and become mayor because I said I couldn't be both. It was one of the most rewarding experiences because I'd have maybe 20 parents in my class, and we talk about skill building. Things like chit chat time. What is chit chat time? Really listening, taking the Bluetooth out, turning the phone off. And so we say, "Jimmy, how was your day?" Really listening to hear maybe there's a problem with the teacher, maybe there's a bully, and maybe he's in love with a girl, maybe she's in love with a boy, maybe they're struggling with their sexuality, but really listening. The importance of reading. We did thank you cards. I would bring in guest speakers, meal planning. We do things like Uno. I taught my kids how to read numbers and colors by playing Uno and Trouble. You got to know what color, what's the number on the die? How many times do you move? And I would bring those games and just parent strategies. And so I created a great relationship with the administration then. So when the school board president retired, she said, "Could you recommend someone?" I said, "I can't think of anyone." My husband was very involved with the kids, our daughter. And because I worked a lot, I worked tax season, I traveled a lot. And they said, "What about Mr. Blackwell?" I said, "No, ask him here." Gave him the phone. And so they recruited him because of his involvement with our daughter, because I traveled so much and worked a lot during busy season at the tax firm. And then, of course, I became campaign manager. Okay, if you're going to do this, I got you. And so we have a commitment to education. When Barack Obama ran, he got my daughter volunteered at 7 years old, and they hit the streets. He's politically motivated, super quiet, completely different. He's an introvert, but really astute and reading and being involved, and brought her along. They were more involved than I was. I came around later. And we met at University Hospitals. He managed the medical records part. And I would go get the charts for clinic for my doctor because he still saw patients. And all of a sudden I couldn't get my charts from the desk. I had to get them from the supervisor. I said, "Why do I have to wait for the supervisor?" I didn't know it was being set up. The supervisor said, "Nobody gives her charts but me. She has to see me."
Wow.
I didn't know I was being chosen.
Right.
And so finally said, "Look, I just want to come and get my charts like everybody else." "Why do I have to get my?" He said, "Because I want to give you your charts." I still didn't catch it. So that turned into a relationship, of course.
How long did you do that before you caught what he was trying to say?
It took me months. It really took the clerk saying, "I don't know why you come in here. He's purposely keeping your charts because he likes you. He's single, no children. He looked like he was like 12, though. No, I mean, we looked like he was significantly younger. He's 2 years young. So that man's too young for me. I'm not interested. She said he is an amazing person. So there was all of this matchmaking going on in the department between me and him. And of course, it ended up working. And now we have a 26-year-old daughter and been together for a while. But went to Lincoln West, went to Cleveland State, grew up on Columbia.
So what's his name?
His name is Annette Blackwell. I didn't know him very well, but anyway, and I needed that.
What year did he go to Lincoln West?
He graduated in 83.
I came out in 86. I think
83. Yeah,
and I grew up on Kempton, which is around the corner.
He grew up on so he's proud Lincoln West. I don't know much about Lincoln West, but the proud Lincoln West graduate because he was part of the busing.
Yeah, it was all that busing
that took place, and he is really big on equity and justice and education. With his sister going in and out of jail, had a special needs brother. He made his way out through education, and he was just the right choice. Excellent. He's a quiet power. You're not going to hear him say much.
So how long he's been on the school board?
He has to run next year. This is his third year.
Excellent.
Yeah. So we keep it separate because there was this perception that we were taking over the city, and so there's executive session. We respect that. But if something comes through the police, I'm the safety director of a kid, we'll talk about it. I'll give him what I can share with him. He'll give me what he can share with me. And then we, in our own ways, handle it with a little bit more information. But we're careful not to cross lines because that's problematic. I don't want to compromise his position. He don't want to compromise my position. And we've been able to do it for 3 years pretty successfully.
You made some benchmarks that you guys are happy with?
We are. 98% graduation rate. Just hired, he was that first Black female superintendent. End of the month, she'll be installed. I'm very proud of what he's been able to do.
Excellent.
Very proud.
Let me ask you a question. If you could trade places with somebody for a day, who would it be?
In what capacity?
You either sit down and talk with them, trade places to do their
Politics,
job, or anybody. It can be anybody.
Governor DeWine.
Governor DeWine. Why would you want to sit down with Governor DeWine?
I want to know, when we're looking at challenges like the increase of this property sexennial, this valuation, how we move our legislators, lawmakers to move to give people relief. How do you see that problem, what it is, and become the highest ranking elected official in the state and move that discussion along? Things sit in committee way too long. How do we address the wealth gap so all people win in this state, right? That power of the office, how does it work for everybody, that everybody's better off because you're the person in office? What's your decision-making process? How do you work well with the people in Columbus? Because we hear there's a lot of things just staying in one place. How do you use the power of that office and what you know as a long service to move the agenda so that people have quicker access? How do we work with the federal government to get as much money for Ohio as we can and not concentrate the growth to just central and western Ohio? I get that we didn't get the Intel plant, but what's next for Northeast Ohio? How do you take what's happening on the national level and increase voter engagement and a better quality of life? We understand we need cleaner air, cleaner water. We need to really address the facts about climate control. Why aren't you more visible in the more populous parts of this state? I want to talk to him.
You want to talk to DeWine? Okay. I wouldn't blow my chance trying to talk to him. That's for sure. What's your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure. I don't know if I have a guilty pleasure.
There got to be something that you like to do.
I love long drives.
Really?
I'll get in the car and drive to New York and come back. I love long drives.
So you like being driven or you like driving long drives?
Both. I just want to be in the car moving. I like stopping at I like antiques, right? I like stopping at little shops and picking up little vases and something different and a different candy, a different dessert, feeling what the culture is in that little piece of the world. Yeah, it's long rides, people watching, right? Nature watching, trees. What's that flower? What's that tree? Oh, what's over there? what's that animal? I'm really into nature and places in the world. But the DeWine thing is because I'm in politics and because of what happens in those areas really matter. And just even the role he played during COVID. That's why.
I done had some good answers. I done had Jesus. I done had Oprah. We done had some doozies. So I was, and I done had DeWine a couple of times. You ain't the only one. This DeWine done made the chart a couple of times, but I'd be like, I ain't wasting my time with DeWine. Yeah. What's the best compliment you ever got?
I just got it last night at an event. Oh. Someone came up to me and said, "You're amazing."
No.
I would say you were amazing. And I go, amazing. And coming from another woman, women don't usually tell other women they're amazing. And the person said it with so much emotion. I almost thought there was tears. She just said, you could just, it's like, you're just so amazing. And it was like, the way she said, I'm like, what? Amazing. And the other would be my staff, and especially the staff and the police. That just, I am the most transformative thinking person they've ever met. I'm like number 17 or 18 to hear that. And these are people who've been in the city for a really long time. But amazing from another woman, and the way she said amazing, it was amazing means a lot of things. It stunned me for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Before I could even say thank you, I had to, amazing? What does that mean?
Something you wish you was better at?
Dancing.
You want to wish you could dance better?
I can't dance. I'm not a dancer. I'd love to learn how to line dance really good.
Oh, you saying you just really want to get down. You want to line dance.
People, I'm the person sitting there when they're line dancing.
So why don't you never just get up and
try? But
so you're not handing it to me.
I'm not. I try. I have a big Music in the Park series similar to Wade O, but we use the same artists, and 200 or 300 people show up. And during intermission, I hired Robert Johnson line, and I try, and everybody always wants to turn and twist me. But after about 3 minutes, I get frustrated. Do I turn right? Do I turn left? Do I step back? I just get frustrated. I never.
So you grew up
I don't know.
with, what was it, J.D. Botterell and all of those? Never did none of that stuff.
Never.
Wow.
I have
interesting.
I'd
hey,
love
don't
to
feel bad. I can't line dance either.
And I'm talking like I jump up there and do that stuff.
Second for me would be becoming a really good swimmer. I think going to all girls school. I grew up with Pat Benatar and Sting and
that's why you went
Madonna and Phil Collins.
Yeah. I went through a stage where I got into that.
But I still love the music.
Yeah,
I don't know, but people call me a rock and roll, call me hillbilly. But my dad loved Elvis Presley. He loved Frank Sinatra, and he loved Sam.
He's from the South.
That's where I grew up with. And so I grew up with that appreciation, then went to school. I really loved the music. Madonna's one of my favorite artists, Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac is in my CD right now. I listen to Fleetwood Mac like every day, all day. Big on rumors. And so just when you don't go to the school in the neighborhood, you're the person everybody knows and likes, but you're an outsider in your own community. So I didn't get really invited to the house parties. Because I wore a uniform.
Yeah, you was that girl walking down the street in a uniform. You didn't talk to nobody, and you went.
No, I tried to.
Well, no, but I get it because I grew up on the street, and it was the same thing every day. They walked down the street.
Yeah,
it was a different vibe y'all gave off.
I talked different.
Exactly. And you was respect. People didn't bother you.
They didn't bother me.
That's the
no, they didn't bother me. It was like,
boys were a little different because the boys came out and played with the girls.
So I never got on the scene. Like I wasn't in Shaw hand dancing at, what do you call it, free periods.
Exactly.
Because you can't leave Shaw unless you know how to hand
dance. That's correct. No. What's the worst piece of advice you ever got?
The worst piece of advice? To wait to go to college.
Okay.
I graduated I got my associates from Indiana Wesleyan in 2018. I graduated from Ursuline. I got my bachelor's from Ursuline in 2019. I wish I would have gotten college earlier because there were so many opportunities not afforded to me. I'll tell you the story, which I was working for the doctor, and I felt like it just wasn't enough. Then I got satisfied. But then when I got to Deloitte, I kept getting passed over for promotions in some of the bigger engagements because there was but you don't have your degree. So I said, you know what? I'm really good at what I do. We win almost every engagement. I'm the lead salesperson. I know the software like no one else. I should be getting more money. So I went to an employment agency and did all the testing. And there was these 3 letters on the application, PWD. I thought, what is PWD? So I asked the receptionist. PWD is a person without a degree. I had never heard about PWD. I said, I don't want to be a PWD. A person without a degree. I'm not going to PWD.
Wow.
PWD, it's not so much the case in politics, you don't have to have a degree. But the level I was, having a PWD was a bad thing.
When they put it like that on there, they definitely, you checking that on the box and they probably slide your application
the door doesn't open. It holds you back in opportunity, it holds you back in promotions and creating a certain wage. I made up my mind that day. I'm not going to be at the PWD anymore.
Right.
And so I was almost through my associates, but you have a baby and I had a divorce. I was a single mom for a while, trying to raise 2 boys, and money was tight. I taught part-time at Shaw. I taught a secretary when welfare reform, they were looking for adult educators. So for 3 years, I taught a medical secretary class at Shaw. And so but it was just to feed these boys and shoes. And I just couldn't quite make it. So when I got married, I said, I got to finish school, finish my degree for my associate's degree at Indiana Wesleyan, going part-time. And then I was up for a big promotion, Deloitte, and it came at me, you have your associates, but you have to have a bachelor's. So they keep moving the bar. So I said, okay, I gotta go back, get the bachelor's. I went back, got the bachelor's. Then I won for mayor in my senior year at Ursuline. I'm like, I've never been a mayor before. I got 100 some employees or something. And it was the director of admissions said, Blackwell, you have 4 classes to get. I know you won for mayor. You're walking across that stage. You're going to finish. We will work with you. And they changed my class. They worked with me. And I walked across and I finally graduated in 2019. I just was appointed to the board of trustees for Ursuline.
Wow.
3 months ago.
Wow.
And I was their commencement speaker 2 years ago. Finished my degree, ended up being the commencement speaker, and was just appointed to the board of trustees a couple months ago. But that
PWD just screwed you up when you saw that and tore you up, huh?
Because I've been a higher achiever, and I'm like, PWD, that less than coming from Alabama where you're too dark or you're too country or whatever. I just didn't want anything in my way. And if PWD was going to stop it. So the worst advice was, and it was, I won't say who it is because it's somebody that I really respect. You don't need a degree. You don't need a degree. Be careful saying that. Unless you know what that person's aspirations are or what they aspire to achieve. That doesn't work for everybody. What I was doing, now I don't need a degree to be a mayor. The mayor before me didn't have a degree. A lot of mayors don't have degrees. A lot of officials don't have degrees. But for the space I was in, not having a degree held me back significantly. Being a PWD was not acceptable in the space I was in.
My last question for you, Mayor. What never ceased to make you laugh? At the end of the day, if you need something that makes you feel good and you flash back on, it could be a funny moment back in your life. It could have been something your kid did that you be like, my son did this. And every time I think about it, he was 4 years. It could be anything. What pulls your strings?
I'm not a funny person, so it doesn't. I know they don't get jokes. People don't tell me jokes because they're wasted on me. I'm like, what's the point?
No, a funny moment.
I know, but I'm just trying to think. Funny for me.
But what makes you feel good? You say it could be I put in Fleetwood Mac. It could be ice cream. It could be, what is the thing that makes you feel good?
My mud deer's lap. My mother had me at 16 years old in Orville, Alabama. And they call it mud deer, but it's really mother deer, if you pronounce it correctly. Correct. We as Black people drop syllables.
Exactly.
All of them becomes mud deer. I didn't learn it until I was loaded. Oh, it's supposed to be mother deer, not mud deer.
I'm going to tell you, you just told me. I never knew what it meant. I hear them say mud deer all the time. I never knew what it was.
M-U-D-D-E-R. It's really mother deer, but we drop, so it's mud deer.
I never knew that until you just told me that. So
but
you
now,
just told me something new.
say Madea.
Right.
M-A-D-E-A, but in Orville it's Madea. There's no A. She had a way of long breast, right? Very country. Was a cook for the white family's land that my family lived on after slavery. Sharecropping became the new form of slavery. If I fell and hit my knee, if the snake scared me, if pumping water was too hard, going to an outhouse where there was a barrel and stinky poop, no matter what, because I was this different child. Sitting in her lap was the safest place in the world. What makes me laugh is I used to bury flies. I would kill flies because I hate flies. But in Alabama, there's little matchboxes, but I felt like they needed dignity. And so I would mimic the pastors or preachers in my family. I would collect the flies. I'd put them in the matchbox. I'd dig a hole in my grandmother's yard because we went back every summer because my mother was here in North trying to get a job and finish school. So we would have to go back to Alabama. I would find a scripture in the Bible. I'd bury them. I'd get 2 papa sickle sticks, and I'd create a cross. My sister had to come to church when I did their eulogy. And when I think about that, and my sister brings it up, we talk about my fly burials.
That is an original. That's the best one we done had.
Flies deserve to be buried too.
And you did the whole funeral.
Did the whole funeral. I were prepared for it. I remember we're having a funeral. And my grandmother, my dear, would say, the funeral's at 3:00. So she'd sit on the porch. She'd get me my matchboxes. I'd get it all ready. I'd get the stick ready. She'd help me with the scripture. I'd say it. Bury the fly. And I remind people not to step there because flies were buried there. You see the cross.
Excellent.
I think of the crazy stuff I did in Alabama as a person who was very different. People say, you have the most different granddaughter. And I think of that. And my sister brings up all the time. She tell my kids, your mother is weird, right? I have to go to these fly funerals. And she'd have and then we'd sing a song. We'd sing a spiritual song.
That's excellent. Mary, you did a great job on our program. You're excellent. We sat here and we talked a while. DJ, you sending us? You got something you want to send us out with?
Yeah, I got a question. Mayor.
Yes.
You are the first female and first African-American mayor of Maple Heights.
Yes.
What made that possible? What change in that city made that a possibility for somebody like you to come in and assume to be the head of the city?
People lost hope in 2008. In 2008, most people in Maple Heights lost over 30% of their valuation. Almost more than half of the homes were underwater. People owed more, including us, than the house was worth. We were labeled as the next East Side suburb down the street. You said it. Yeah, there was already a lot of white flight in the 70s, but there was a mass exodus of white flight. People moved to Twinsburg. That's the new place. You live in Twinsburg. You live in not so much Solon, South Pride, or Oakwood. You live anywhere but Maple Heights. You move to Bedford Heights. Maple Heights became this place that was not a good place for people. If you said Maple Heights, you almost had to whisper it. It was a place of shame. And so people had lost all of this hope. There was nobody in the service department. Swimming pool closed. Parks weren't being maintained. And the city became darker. The population of single moms increased. The population of Blacks increased. And they were just looking for anything, something different, something better, something that offers some hope, possibilities. And I showed up. And I actually ran on expect something different. That was one of my taglines. They saw my background. I was from white corporate America. I had gone to Villa Angela. I had a great family. My son played football, was a football star. My husband was educated. My daughter, who ended up being class president and graduated with 4.2, we bought an All-American Veterans Hall on Broadway as an event center we've owned for 10 years. They had rented the hall from us. I was the lady that had gotten the school levy passed. I was a lady that had worked with parents for 4 years in our parent academy and had bought an American Veterans Hall, and I was a business owner. And they thought I was somebody they could bet on. The mayor at the time had gotten to know my daughter. He had cancer. It came back. He was dying. I had run for city council unsuccessfully in 2013 for my district at the urging of the mayor at the time. Ran a pretty impressive campaign, but I graduated from Ursuline. I had a business degree from Indiana Wesleyan, but I graduated from Ursuline with a corporate communications, public relations background, which just furthered my sales my sales history and my sales success. So I pretty much organized all of my own information. And then people thought it was well written and professional because I hired professionals to do it. I didn't just put something out on a copy machine. And they said, this woman's different. She's different. And she will serve us well. And so they bought what I was selling and really believed in me. And I've been able to deliver.
Yeah, she's been doing a great
congratulations
job.
on that.
Very good job.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that definitely answered the question. And I'm impressed by you getting rid of that PWD.
Right. So if you see it, now you don't know, we don't always know what titles they're using when we cycle in their places. But she wrote it too big. And I said, what is that? And so we're not sure always what's holding us back.
It's like banned box.
No, right. And so here it is that I was meeting all of my, because a professional services firm is like a law firm. I had chargeable billable hours. I would meet my chargeable hours, 1,800 hours, at billable hours, good work that we could bill back to the client. Was meeting all the metrics, scorecard. But I had this thing I didn't know, and it was a PWD. I was a person without a degree. Yes. Or you could say professional without a degree. But it's something that holds you back.
Yeah, what we do when we end our program, we give you an opportunity to take us out, and you get a chance to look right here at this camera and this camera right here.
That one.
This one's right on. Yeah, this is one been showing you the whole time. No, that one's two. Okay. You got 4 cameras. Oh, okay. They all over the place. But this one here, I want you to look at. And you get to take your time and give yourself a moment. You get to talk about whatever you want to talk about. If I definitely wanted you to let people know what are your plans for the future you think you would like to see Maple Heights going into, I think would be awesome. But then also give them some more information, and everything that the mayor is going to talk about, all her information as it relates to will be in our description. So go ahead.
When I think about Maple Heights, I think about where we are. The thing that is difficult for me is that our story isn't told. There is so much enthusiasm and so many people and publications willing to talk about our demise, what was wrong in Maple Heights. And people have heard me say this term several times and don't like it. But we were a city that was too dirty, too much litter. Oh, sorry, too dark and too dangerous. Crime had risen. Blacks were the predominant majority of population. Dirty, people were dropping paper, trash was overflowing, people weren't maintaining their property. That's a story that was being told over and over again. We were the next something undesirable, the next failed city, the next sad story. We have not been that. We were too broke, right? We're in fiscal emergency. We haven't been that city in almost a decade. And I say that because I've been mayor 9 years. I became the mayor in 15, and now in my first year of my third term. No one's telling our new story. And so as I leave this broadcast today, I want the news to come back. The people that are reporting or opining or commenting on Maple Heights and its failures to come back and tell the story today. Talk about the success. Talk about the resilience of the people. Talk about the good things that are happening in our city. The investors that come and don't mind buying 15 parcels and building brand new homes, second floor homes, energy efficient homes. The fact that Solar has a $156 million EPA grant, they want to start putting solar panels first in Maple Heights as a pilot program because they believe in Maple Heights. I want the news story of Maple Heights to be told. And with that, my story. I am from Selma, Alabama. I came here as a 2-year-old in the second Great Migration. I grew up in extreme racism and poverty. And yet I sit as the CEO of Maple Heights, really responsible for over a $40 million budget. And we are thriving with more success to come. That is what I want people to come back and tell the new story of Maple Heights, the good things, the amazing things, the things that make us a winning city. Thank you.
Everybody, that is Mayor Annette Blackwell. Like I said, you'll be able to look in our description, and we're going to leave details of how you can catch her on social media, how you can catch her down there at her office, and information of how you can get involved in Maple Heights. So till next week, we'll see you later. Peace.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you for it senses me. Why don't they come back? Why don't they write the news story? That doesn't sell newspapers, right?
They don't sell newspapers. They don't want to hear anything.
Well, thank you for the opportunity for me to tell what's happening.
And this is an open forum. So again, as things come up, even if you can't come in, because we're going to be doing a lot of Zoom stuff too. So it may be some stuff that comes up. Hey, you want to jump on a Zoom and make a comment about this? I got 3 other people on, and you may say, you know what, I'll do that. We're going to be doing all kinds of little things.
Thank you for
like
that opportunity.
Yeah.
And thank you for coordinating everything. Thank you for the hospitality. Oh, no. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Good stuff.
I told you, you're on my list, so we watching you. Got you.
I knew that DeWine would throw you.
Yeah, like DeWine.